I love macro photography, and it's lovely now that the year's rolling on. This is my London garden, and I've lived in this house for 10 years. In all the houses that I've lived in, I've never used chemicals in the garden, so I think that's really essential. If you avoid using chemicals, any kind of chemicals, then, I mean, I use organic fertiliser like bloodfish and bone meal and things like that, but I don't use any herbicides, pesticides or any toxins in the garden. So that's one thing. The other thing is, if you can, I mean, I'm not great at that in this garden because we did inherit a lot of plants, but is to have as many indigenous plants as you can in your garden. If you have indigenous plants, a good variety of indigenous plants, and giving you a lot of different flowers and trees, bushes, shrubs, then you will get a rich fauna in your garden. You'll get lots of insects and excellent subjects for photography. So those are the things you need for back garden wildlife photography. Here is a typical, very small, typical London garden, but just down there on that leaf, just on the edge, he's just walking up the edge of the plant pot, is a jumping spider. See if we can get a few. It's a tiny insect, so it's going to be quite a challenge getting it. Oh, look at that. On a more, if you get on a more natural, oh dear me, there you are, that's it. Much better if you're on a leaf, isn't it? Zebra jumping spider. I just had a look at the pictures on my camera. I don't think I've got anything that's as sharp as I'd like it to be, but with these insects you find you might take 50 or 100 pictures before you get one that is reasonable. It's just a question of persevering. Just for those of you interested in these sorts of things, this is a Nikon Z6, a Godox, I think it's 685N flash gun, or speedlight as it's called these days, and a Laowa 100mm f2.8 2x macro lens. So that's the equipment I've been using today. One of the other things, because I'm an old man with wobbly knees, this is one of my most useful pieces of equipment, is a little pad. So it's great for when I'm out and about, and I think when I sit on a damp log or something, but it's also great to just use as a little cushion for your knee as you're kneeling down or crawling around in the undergrowth taking macro photographs. So yeah, one of my most useful pieces of photographic equipment. In terms of settings, because the depth of field is so small, I usually shoot at f11 with my macro lens, and something like 1/200th of a second. My ISO has varied from 100 to 800 today. The lighting has changed quite a bit during the day. So those are the sorts of general settings that I use. Everything, when I always shoot on manual anyway, so everything is set. This is of course a manual focus lens, but in terms of exposure, I set everything manually. This is our frog pond, and we've had to. I can actually see there is a frog just down there with small bit of head above the water, but with this pond, we've had to stick lots of wooden sticks around it because there's a neighbouring cat that has become obsessed with our frogs, and so this is our attempt to protect our amphibians from this cat. So we'll have to see if that works or not. Of course, the other thing you need for wildlife, any kind of wildlife photography, whether you're walking in the woods or sitting in the garden, is patience. Wildlife doesn't just appear on cue. You've got to be patient and watchful, mindful, and look out for it at all times. So I have two kind of methods. One is to walk as quietly as I can around the garden, looking around me and seeing what I can see. And the other method is to sit still on a chair like this and just sit and wait and see what comes my way. So, we could get hoverflies, well, I've seen hoverflies, bees, and a couple of butterflies have whizzed through the garden. Nothing has landed or settled anywhere where I could get a good photograph of a butterfly, but it's just a question of time and patience and looking out and seeing what you can see. So I think the other thing that's really important is to be flexible. Don't just look and think, well, I'm going to definitely just going to look at photographing a peacock butterfly or something. You could sit, for 3 days in a good spot and not see a peacock butterfly. So I think you have to be a little bit flexible in what you photograph, whatever you find, whatever comes your way. So I've had quite good luck today with. I've seen 3 different jumping spiders today, and also another thing I think that is good is to get that I'd like to try to do with my photography is to get pictures of animal behaviour. You're not just capturing a portrait shot, but you're also trying to find animal behaviour. So here are some flies that are up to no good. But I mean, it's just a question of, this sort of picture is just a question of looking out and seeing what you can see, what kind of behaviour you can see. And one of the things that I think is really interesting with macro photography is often you take photographs, and it's not till you look at them on the big screen on the computer later that you see this is an insect with prey. My favourite is where the spider is sitting sort of suspended in a sea of green, out of focus green leaves, and just sort of suspended in this 3D world of the jumping spider. So that's probably my favourite photograph. But if you have some flies fornicating, hoverflies, beautiful plume moth, and some jumping spiders. Not a bad little crop for a day's work. So hope you enjoyed the photographs, and I will see you again soon.